So, like George Brother Finch just said, David is our subject, the person we're going to be talking about, and the quality of courage. I'm going to say that a lot the next few minutes. When you think of David, you probably think of King David. Think of him as a king. Maybe you think just a little before that, running from Saul as a fugitive, or fighting Goliath, the giant. So David's life as a whole, as recorded in the Bibles, had a lot of action. He was always on the move, wasn't he? So the question stands then is, how did he develop the courage to meet all the challenges that he was faced with successfully? Where did that start? Well, where did David's record start in the Bible? It started as, introduced him as a shepherd. So David was just a young shepherd boy for some time. What did shepherds do? Shepherds cared for their flock, they fed them, they led them different pastures for water, took care of their health needs. Really, we would call it a pretty boring life today, the life of a shepherd. But now, was that always boring for David? No. Well, let's look at a verse here in 1 Samuel. So the bulk of the time, he probably was just doing a lot of thinking. He looked at Jehovah's beautiful creation. Maybe that's where he started to develop his relationship with Jehovah. A lot of time to meditate, look at what Jehovah had created. But it wasn't always boring. So 1 Samuel 17. This is his conversation with Saul sometime later. Verse 34 and 35. David then said to Saul, "Your servant became a shepherd of his father's flock, and a lion came, also a bear, and each carried off a sheep from the flock. I went out after it and struck it down and rescued it from its mouth. When it rose up against me, I grabbed it by its fur and struck it down and put it to death." So we read that, a lion and a bear, it's quite a scene. Have you ever tried to take away food from a house cat? Depending on its personality, it probably wasn't too happy with that. So imagine a lion. He has his eyes on his next meal. He jumps out of the woods, and David is a little ways away, and he sees this all happening. You imagine his thought right away, the adrenaline he might have felt, his heart racing. This lion is taking one of my father's sheep that he entrusted me with. So at some point, David musters up the courage to go and fight this animal, and it says that he struck it down. He also did that with a bear, not just a lion. So where did he get this courage? Look at verse 37. Then David added, "Jehovah who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear." Jehovah rescued him. So however he did that, it doesn't say. But David no doubt had confidence that in that situation, Jehovah was going to help him. We think of him fighting the giant Goliath too. Just one point from that. Flip over to verse 45. This is what David says to someone who's probably 3 or 4 feet taller than him. David replied to the Philistine, Goliath, "You are coming against me with the sword and spear and javelin, but I am coming against you in the name of Jehovah of armies, the God of the battle line of Israel, whom you have taunted. This very day Jehovah will surrender you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head." And he goes into it a little more. Imagine saying that to someone your own size, let alone someone 3 feet taller than you. Do you think that took courage? Where did David get that? Do you think maybe it was his previous experiences with Jehovah helping him, his relationship earlier in life, fighting the lion and the bear? So, David no doubt showed courage just in those 2 instances in his younger days. What about us today? We have a couple young ones and others that are more experienced in the truth. Do we have times where we need to show courage like David? Now, we're not going to fight a lion or a bear or Goliath. But is there maybe something we're struggling with or that we're nervous about where we feel like we might as well be fighting a lion? Maybe it is going out in service. Maybe the door-to-door work can make us nervous. Maybe it's giving talks. Maybe it's the goals that we have. Pioneering, that's easy to say. When you start to think about it, that might be a little scary. So it takes courage to go out, to listen to Jehovah, to go out in service, to talk to those who maybe are older than us. David here was talking to someone 3 feet taller than him. That no doubt took courage. So to acquire courage like David did, we can think about maybe how Jehovah has helped us in the past, or how he's helped maybe our parents, our other friends in the hall, or the biblical example of David. So no doubt we're going to need courage as we go through this system of things, because Satan is doing everything he can to have us break our faith. But particularly for our young ones, showing courage will give Jehovah's approval.